Hi, so I'm Beth Myers, and I am here with my colleague and good friend Gail Green, and together we lead the Discovery Bootcamp for Women Leaders. And one of the topics that we talk about where women struggle in the workplace is the awe factor. And Gail, I love your story with this, so I'm just going to hand it over to you to explain what it is and a great example of it.
Great. Thanks, Beth. So the awe factor, AWE, is when someone is intimidated by a senior leader or a peer because of their authority or their position. So in some ways, it's putting somebody on a pedestal. I have an example where this totally stood out. I was sitting in on a meeting with a client, and she was rolling out a software process that the organization was implementing. She was clear, she was decisive, she provided a lot of detail, and she was extremely engaging with the group who was asking a lot of questions. And somewhere 15, 20 minutes into the meeting, her boss arrived. Her boss came in, sat down, and there was at least 30 seconds where nothing was said. And the tension rose so high, everybody was kind of looking around like, what just happened? And as she began to talk, she was tongue-tied, she stumbled over her words. And the thing for me that was so pronounced, she totally lost her eye contact with the group. Her eyes went down, and she was totally confined and small and diminished. Awe factor. So in those situations when we put somebody on a pedestal and we give over our authority and often are comparing ourselves to them, it's not only notice everybody else, but it gets in the way of our ability to be powerful and dynamic in our communication.
Absolutely. So Gail, how did she turn that around in that situation?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because it took her probably 5 minutes to find her rhythm. Luckily, she knew her stuff. She did find her rhythm, and she got back to the cadence and rhythm she had before, where she was making eye contact, she was asking for input, and it became conversational as it was before. But think about it. At the end of the meeting, what people talked about was that 5 minute of torture, because we were all sweating bullets for her. I found myself breathing for her, which I often do when people are really stuck. And how I see this applies in day to day in leadership. There's an incredible quote that says, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's internal terrorism. So I'm terrorizing myself because I'm comparing myself to someone else. And what I'm so proud of that you and I do in our Discovery Bootcamp for Women Leaders is we have really worked in these areas and how to give transformational tools for people that are stuck in this type of arena. So one of the things is to assist people even to prepare. If you know your boss or a senior leader, or you know that you have a tendency because of their position power to put them on another level, is to do some deep breathing before you even enter, and acknowledgments like, I can rise to the occasion, I can handle this, I can deal with my boss being there. The power of the I can is phenomenal.
Absolutely, Gail. And I know another tool that we've talked about is kind of leveling the playing field with the person that you have the awe factor with. Because oftentimes, as you mentioned, it's a positional power that's putting them in that position for you. But if you just think about life overall, if you just sit and think as you're doing your breathing about life overall, what things have you done? What accomplishments have you made in your life? What skills do you have? And I'm betting that if you put that on the table with everyone at the table, you're going to be amazing. You're going to come out ahead. You're going to be at the same level with them as soon as you start talking about whatever your passions are, whatever your talents are, the things that you have brought to the table, the region that you come from. All of those things come together to make you awesome. And really puts it all on a level playing field as we look at the entire scope of the picture. So taking the positional power out of it and looking at life in general, and then you find you just become more comfortable with that person.
That's so true. I'm so glad you brought that up, Beth. It's perspective. It's perspective. And it's also perspective under pressure. So the other piece that I would just like to add to this is that the opposite of comparison, or the other side of the pendulum swing, is contrast. And as we get better in honoring our individuality, honoring our uniqueness, honoring our own thought process, our own way, what has gotten us as far as we have, as we get better at that, then we move out of comparison and we move into contrast and learn to love, appreciate, and value ourselves and what makes us unique.
Thanks for that, Gail. Could you give a little bit more content regarding the concept of comparison versus contrast?
Here's how I see it. We are all geared, socialized to pay attention, way too much attention to everyone else. So we learn to blend, we learn to be like each other, and we learn as a result comparing. And when you think about comparison, there will always be somebody at a higher level. We always come in second if we do it for any length of time. Contrast is honoring ourselves. Contrast is looking to our own unique abilities, talents, qualities, perspective on things. It gives us permission to speak. It lets us back ourselves. I'm different. I see it in a different way. I might be adversarial in this moment, but maybe, as we all know, how conflict is a huge part of leadership. And in order to be able to bring forward conflict, I have to be able to be in contrast than the group think or the group general direction going forward. So it's a part of our development as leaders to be able to honor ourselves and be in contrast instead of always in comparison. So have you ever given thought to the difference between comparison and contrast? It's an incredible topic. Love to delve further with you. Please comment. We do read your comments and we will respond. Thanks so much. Look forward to continuing this forward, and see you next time.